Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you are just tuning in, we just finished talking about the Game 6 final that sent the Edmonton Oilers to the Stanley Cup Finals to take on the Florida Panthers that we are going to talk about here in this segment, their Game 6, and what the Rangers have to look for in the future as well. Again, the Stanley Cup Finals is set. That series starts on Saturday, so we will talk all about that a little bit later. We're actually going to do a quick preview of the Stanley Cup Finals coming up in a bit. We also talked about the Justin Jefferson signing, the historic, record-shattering deal by the great wide receiver. Probably the best wide receiver in the league today, signs a contract worth his skills. 4 years, $140 million, 110 of that guaranteed, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL. But like I was saying, in this segment here, we're going to talk about the Game 6 between the Panthers and the Rangers that saw the Panthers head to their second straight Stanley Cup Finals. But before we get into that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with a message in it. That message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all, go ahead and throw that in the comment section. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate all of you for sticking around and talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Monday afternoon. But like I was saying, we are going to continue our hockey coverage here, talking about the East series. The East is all wrapped up now. We have our champions of the East, the two-time defending Eastern Conference champions, Florida Panthers, are back in the Stanley Cup Final for the second straight year. Last year, they had a miracle run going through the all-time greatest record in the history of the NHL, Boston Bruins, taking them out in 7, running all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals before running into a buzzsaw that was a healthy, cap-maneuvering Vegas Golden Knights team that took home their first cup in franchise history. The Panthers are back for the second straight season, looking for revenge in a very similar team. You talk about a team that's powered first and foremost by goaltending. And Sergei Bobrovsky, Big Bob, Playoff Bob, has been awesome. There's no other way to describe it. He has been the second best goalie in the playoffs, only behind Igor Shesterkin, the goaltender that the Panthers just finished eliminating in this last series. And the Panthers just were the better team. I know I've kind of talked a little bit about the Rangers before, but going into this game, the Panthers had won 2 straight. They win 3 straight. They win this one 2-1. Again, a tight, low-scoring game, just like almost every game in this series was. They were just too much for the Rangers. The Rangers' offense ran out of juice, and they were kind of running on fumes for that entire series, it seemed like. They were able to stay in it because Igor Shesterkin was doing stuff that you shouldn't be able to do as a goaltender, stopping these odd man rushes all the time. And some of that is puck luck, some of that is they miss just wide, but a lot of that is positioning from the goaltender. You get in a good spot, they got to make a tougher angle shot, a more precise shot to get it past you, and they start missing the net. So some of that is missing, some of that is goaltending, and it's insane to see how elite Igor Shesterkin was playing. And it's a shame that it doesn't end in a cup run. It kind of feels like the same story of Henrik Lundqvist. Yeah, Kelsey says in YouTube comments, I feel like the Rangers coasted through the first 2 series pretty easily. And yeah, you're absolutely right. They won the first 7 games of the playoffs. They swept the Capitals. They went up 3-0 on the Carolina Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes kind of made it close there for a second. They took them to Game 6. They won 2. It looked like they were going to send it to Game 7 or complete a reverse sweep. But Igor Shesterkin, again, has just been the best goaltender in the playoffs. And outside of him, The Capitals were a mismatch. They were never going to win games. As much as it hurts to say that as a Capitals fan, they were never going to beat the Rangers. They limped into that playoffs. Nobody in the East wanted that last wild card spot, and the Caps just happened to be the last team standing. So no one was really going to put up much of a fight for the Rangers in that first round. In the second round, I thought the Hurricanes would put up more of a fight against the Rangers. I really did. But again, Igor Shesterkin saved the day, and he kept them alive. He kept them going. Once the offense died after Game 3, I think that's really what happened. After Game 3 of that series, the Rangers' offense just kind of fizzled out. They kind of ran out of gas, and that's really what their weakness was heading into it. Their offense had a tendency to disappear, but Igor was able to mask that by playing elite hockey. And like I said in the last segment, when you're playing hockey, it's two of three things, and goaltenders are separate, because if a goaltender is a brick wall, it doesn't matter. The goalie will win you games, and Igor was proving that every single night, night in and night out. And it wasn't every single night that they were the worst team, but it was just about every single night that they felt like the worst team. And then they run into the Panthers, a Panthers team that is hungry. They are, like I said, this is their second straight Stanley Cup Finals run. Uh, so it's not an easy thing to do, and they've been able to do it. Sergei Bobrovsky has been incredible. He is propelling them. But what the Florida Panthers have that the Rangers didn't, and those two teams are very similar, is the Panthers have consistent offense. Matthew Tkachuk hasn't really been there this playoff run, but, they have plenty of other offensive weapons. You talk about Alexander Barkov, who has been huge for them at center, Tarasenko, Tkachuk, Verhaeghe, these guys that have just been able to provide consistent offense for their teams. That's really the difference. Their offense hasn't fizzled out, and now they are, going into a series against a Oilers team that will outclass them at offense. There is not a single team in the NHL that can come close. Maybe the Maple Leafs can with Austin Matthews, but we know what happens with the Maple Leafs every single playoffs. It happened again this year. They lose in the first round, and Austin Matthews is another guy that deserves a cup. But that's besides the point. The Panthers have had an incredible run, and the way that they play physically is something that they have been able to consistently throw teams off. In that first round against Tampa, the Lightning came out. They were a little phased. In that second round against Boston, they were so physical that Boston got rattled. The same thing in this round. It came out early. Florida rattles them. Now, the Rangers are a team that are physical enough to deal with that, but there's a difference between being physical and disciplined, and the Rangers don't know the difference. That's really was another one of those things that really spelled their downfall here. They just couldn't stay disciplined in this game, in this series as a whole. So Panthers move on. They are facing off against the Edmonton Oilers. And in the next segment here, we are going to do some Stanley Cup Finals predictions. We're going to do a little bit of breakdown on both of these teams, how they got here, how they match up, what their pros and cons are, and much more. That is coming up next here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.